Greetings, this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is a quickie review of, Incredibles 2. It's the sequel to Incredibles, a movie that came out 14 years ago. It's a Pixar movie. The original was a spoof of Fantastic Four. This is too. um, I've already seen some of the other reviews of the film, and try not to necessarily address what the other reviewers have said, even about the preview. I'm going to skip the previews because there really was nothing outstanding. There was quite a weird little film beforehand about sort of. It struck me as being a cross between VeggieTales and Kung Fu Panda, and in it, a very oddly shaped little Asian boy in it befriends a hot bun, and the little dumpling comes to life as a dumpling, like a kid. He raises it, and then it finds a wife and moves away, and then he cries, and then it comes back, and the little dumpling thing, apparently at the end, the kid is he comes back with the wife, and the dumpling comes back to be with him again, and as if that actually happened and wasn't a dream. Apparently, in that universe, your cooking, your bread rolls are alive, like in VeggieTales, and which would be disturbing. But yes, the father guy is balding and stuff. And the kid is. I wonder what kind of weird trip that kid's on that thinks that would be real and alive. So is the next Pixar movie going to have something to do with, like, the reason it's a little like Kung Fu Panda is that spring rolls and buns and things are a part of that show as well. That was actually DreamWorks. Different people. There's been 3 of them, so they want to cash in on it. And Tame Your Dragon 3 is coming out. And there's one other Pixar movie. Actually, Ralph Wrecks the Internet. Should be called Ralph Wrecks the Internet. The Wreck-It Ralph 2 that we really don't need. It looks like it's trying to be Pixels and Tron, and which is spoofs, and also trying to be the Disney afternoon, that one where they go to the club, the Disney club thing, and also so it's an odd thing. Anyway, and the princesses all show up. That's why it's like the Disney thing, which also is like that game, Final Fantasy, with the characters in it. So that kind of makes sense. It's also like the Emoji Movie, because that thing made a lot of money, even though it apparently wasn't very good. The last 2, and now on to the Incredibles 2. A movie that, like some critics have said, is basically Mr. Mom, with kinda, yeah. That was a late '80s movie, Michael Keaton, in which it was the late '80s, and they were spoofing the idea that if a mother goes to work, the father stays home, he can't handle it, and it's a disaster. That's where the infamous meme about the check stand clerk ordering up the tampons, and he's all embarrassed. He wouldn't be, but in this movie, he is embarrassed for some reason. Because, why would a man be ordering? Well, maybe for his wife. But anyway, that didn't occur to him in the movie, so that was like this scene that was shocking. But now it's the 21st century, so it's different. And actually, at that time, my parents both worked, and I was a latchkey kid, so I come home on the bus, and and so it's kind of silly. They were both at work, so at least in the later part. So anyway, but yeah, that neither here nor there. In this movie version of this universe, a brother and sister who are billionaires or millionaires because it's the '60s offer a job to ElastiGirl, character, and she takes the job, but leaves. But they also offer the father a house because they were living out of a hotel. The girl Violet has a boyfriend, but he finds out what her secret identity is, so he is taken to the mysterious Nixon-looking guy who does the Men in Black thing and makes him forget everything. Somehow, with a plunger thing stuck to his head. Makes him forget her, and then there's this like drama in the background. It's not a weepy movie at all. There is no weeping in it. So I am bringing up something some of the critics already did. Yeah, it's not sad. Yeah, it was an odd duck even the first time around because it was trying so hard to not be other things that had come out, and at the same time it was Fantastic Four. And the premise also was that the superheroes are illegal, so they have done that. And we just did, and in this one they figure out how to make them legal again. They're going to put them on a yacht and have this big signing. In that universe, like, I guess that works. The baby had his powers at the end of the first movie, but they retcon that in the second one. And he develops his powers later on, so it's more like Mr. Mo. This movie must take place immediately after the first one. But it appears to not, by at least a year. As Mark's Cards pointed out, reviewing it, like, a baby grows up pretty quick, so how is that working there? But anyway, yeah, I guess he's a toddler more than a baby in this one. So yeah, that does work. They actually established that it's a couple of months later, maybe even about under a year. It's a couple of months later. He's walking around and stuff in it. So, yeah. So, and ElastiGirl was work for the and all the stuff in the trailer with the father guy freaking out, Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Incredible, trying to fix stuff. And not working. That's all there in the movie. It doesn't overdo it with the Mr. Mom stuff. And the elephant in the room in the story is, because it's set in the '60s when everybody was sexist, everybody had to a lot of people were, and everyone's place was in society. And there was segregation and stuff. But there was also segregation of the sexes. And men were supposed to work at a day-to-day job, and the women were supposed to be home raising the kids. That's what they did in the 50s. And it's actually a little throwback to the 50s, the 40s and 50s, more or less. But in the movie, he's like old-fashioned, so it makes sense. So he's supposed to be like the early 60s in the movie. But by the 1980s, people were not doing that anymore. They were both having two jobs. That was a common thing, especially around Silicon Valley. But this movie might take place in a place that's kind of like L.A. or something, or New York or something. I think it's supposed to be New York, probably. But yeah, up and coming city where something like that they would be working two jobs anyway, so there would be no big deal, even in the late '60s. So the movie's premise is certainly old-fashioned, if not kind of prejudiced. Texas, not a sexist. Yeah. And John Lasseter is the producer-director. He got into trouble, and Lasseter. And, yeah, so I wonder if they're ever going to release it. So, yeah, sports games. Anyway, yeah, it's fine. Um, but that one undertone is kind of not. I didn't like that. uh, so yeah, I'll just zoom in on the sides are all messed up. Well, so yeah, it's fine. It's a movie. It has, you know, um, yeah. I really got not much else. The first action scene is the best one. The one on the ship is not as good. Near the end, they're on the ship. You can tell who the villain is immediately. Like the minute they have, literally, they telegraph that from a mile away. I wasn't the only person. Other reviewers were like, yeah, you can tell. I'm not going to give away everything. It just came out, but it's really obvious. Going in, I know. I was one of the few people that saw The Sixth Sense coming from a mile away too. So, if you just paid attention for a movie like that, you can figure it out. In the case of The Sixth Sense, you could tell immediately Bruce Willis's character is dead, or a vision, or a hallucination, because the little boy talks to him and the mother can't see him. Opening scene when he's actually there. You're like, oh, he's a ghost. We don't know why he's a ghost, but he's a ghost. And that was like, the movie's like, oh, you're giving it away. He's like, no, I haven't. I never saw it. And then when I saw it, as it was playing, came out, figured it out. Like, yeah, they're not being very subtle in that movie. It's just that people weren't very perceptive. Didn't realize what's going on. And then there's a reverse of that. You have something like The Spirit, where he's supposed to be a ghost, and they make him not. So in The Incredibles, there's no ghost, but there is a sibling rivalry going on between this rich brother and rich sister, and then there's the evil bad guy, the screenslaver. Even though screensaver as a term did not exist until the 80s, which was done with old monitors, would bake in the image on the screen when you played them. But yeah, they still used them. So it's weird that they would use, and the remote controls were too advanced too. They somehow remotely mess with Mr. Incredible's car, which is probably hundreds of miles away, through the TV screen somehow, which I guess is a throwback to the 50s and remote controls being really remote and powerful. And it's a cartoon, but okay. With a stretchy lady. Sure. What does Mr. Fantastic do? Is he just strong? Mr. Plastic or whatever? Mr. Incredible, what does he do? I think he's just strong. Yeah. The girl has like force field powers and invisibility and shifting. The baby has all kinds of powers. He can teleport and break up into little clones of himself and go into walls and come out. It's all kind of ridiculous. They just make him have all kinds of powers. He's a metamorph, and of course the scene with the little lady that goes in and babysits him. So he can't handle it. He has to go to her. But yeah, the idea, the messed up idea of that is, of course, that the which doesn't make me get triggered or anything, because I wasn't there, but it's like, the idea that we're going to base this entire movie on the fact that the guy is in a sexist situation, but the lady goes like full bore into this job that ultimately turns into the villain's plot, as if she's not ready either, even though she totally saves the train and saves the building and helps save the ship and all that, implying that she couldn't handle it either, which is kind of messed up. Kind of implies that, like, oh, okay, well, see, this proves it. They have to get back together at the end. It's like no, that's no. How about she stops the villain? If you wanted to actually make that a message, she stops him. How about that instead? Nope. Well, she kind of stops the villain, but they determined that he was zombified. It was actually at first a villain that they threw out as a patsy for her to catch. And I almost gave away who the bad guy is. Well, it's really obvious, though. It's like, come on. There's only two other heroes in the story. Two other people interested in the story and are enamored with them. It's really obvious to everyone. It's not like Sixth Sense, because it's really obvious this time. It's like okay, yeah, this... In fact, the ending is very similar to Zootopia, which originally was about Nazi lions, but they changed it in the movie to be about the evil sheep that's in the background that's pulling the strings. Same plot here. Same idea as Zootopia. Pretty much the same idea. They go beyond their comfort zone or something, and they become like super whatever. Except this one's a little more kind of iffy about that. The critics seem to love the movie and fawn all over it. I would say that it's just good. That it's not great. It's good. It's all right. Kids won't be wondering about the adult stuff. The adults will just see that sexist stuff in there and go, huh? And of course, what is it with like cartoon movies making the father kind of adult? Like an idiot or a fool at some points. Like the father a fool. Let's do that. Yeah, he can't handle it. He's the fool. Yeah. Why is that? Disney movies are always doing that. But yeah. So. But yeah, it never really gets addressed that the bad guys are doing what they're doing. Their motivation is weird. So why are they doing? Why are the bad guys? Why is the bad guy behaving in the way that the bad guy is? I don't know. But it's a cartoon, so you can suspend some disbelief. It was probably on paper half-hour short, and they expanded it to a movie. That'd be my guess. And threw a lot of the baby in there, and it didn't really need that. It's fine. It's 3 stars, maybe 3.5. Means it's yeah. Average would be 2.5. So it's 3.5. It's I would give it maybe 79-80% on Rotten Tomatoes. But I think Rotten Tomatoes has gone up too high and given it kudos over what it should really have. This is not the next Coco. It's comparable to the first one, and actually I like the first one better. I'd say in terms of the emotional content, it's actually not even as good as the first Cars movie. Because that was about 3.5 stars too. Because yeah, that had more emotion in the Route 66 scene than the other ones. Who doesn't like Life is a Highway? Anyway, but the other Cars movie's not so good. There was going to be a movie called Newt that they ended up not doing because Rio came out and it was the same plot. Pixar's been trying to chase after the other guys. And a little bird told me some of the elements of Toy Story 4. And I'm going to keep you in suspense. Can't tell you. Let's see what else. There's some other movie where there was there was a Kal Kat moment in this movie though. Where was that? That was in the I wasn't in it, but there was a moment that was like a moment in this movie. Probably not the Nixon guy. It was probably not the boyfriend guy. That would be stupid. No, it had something to do with the one of the other hero guys who. Anyway, in the Solo movie, it was more obvious. There was ooh, guy that looked vaguely like Silly Kelly was in that. And he was basically dead. No, that was the Guardians movie. That's right. That was Avengers. Age of Ultron. He's dead. Yeah. Background. and then in the Solo, he was one of the people in the casino walking around. But no, he wasn't really. It just looked kind of like, yeah, I'm going crazy. Yeah, no. So yeah, that's all I really got. Toy Story. Frozen 2. Do we need a? No, we don't need a Frozen 2. I wonder what's next. Talking Bun movie. And you can tell from the short what the other next story might be, just because the short kind of gives it away. Like 2 years ago, when the short was sort of this like bitter father character who had a son that wanted to play music, and then Coco came out a year and a half later. So, but they changed things around. But so there's something to do with a bun. Somewhere in there was a movie the idea they dropped in which the short was a guy who his organs were all alive. Apparently, they just said, "Okay, that's just a short. We're not going to make that movie. That's dumb. It's bad enough that we we tried to do this movie where their personalities were, inside out, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to have their organs be alive. It's a little weird." But yeah, that's my review of Incredibles 2. It was fine. Yeah.